Jungkook's mother crying in front of HYBE. The atmosphere was suddenly quiet. Everyone's gaze was on him. Taeil only said one sentence, and the room instantly froze. What really happened behind those tears? Why didn't any of the HYBE staff dare to speak? Is this the end of a mother's patience? No one expected that HYBE's boardroom that morning would turn into the most emotional stage ever since BTS's debut. No one expected that the tears of a mother, not from the world of entertainment, not from the camera, not from the scenario, would be the most impactful and electrifying moment, surpassing even any form of stage performance. But that's exactly what happened. Jungkook's mother, BTS's golden magne, who had always looked tough, smiling, and strong, suddenly broke down in tears. And what is more surprising? He cried in front of the entire HYBE higher-ups. The question now, what really happened? Why would a mother come straight to her son's agency office, the place she had entrusted to guide, protect, and care for Jungkook, just to cry? Is there something to hide? And how could one sentence from Kim Taeil, his own son's best friend, instantly make the whole room speechless? It's not just about idols. This is a story about honesty, betrayal, and the last limit of a mother's patience. A few days earlier, the mood of the fandom was already noticeably different. The army felt the awkwardness of Jungkook's posts. His smile seemed forced. His voice, while still melodious, seemed to contain wounds. He shied away from live broadcasts more often, was more often seen pensive in short videos HYBE released, and even, for the first time, fans saw Jungkook leave the studio early with his face covered in a mask and his head bowed. Many wondered, but no one answered. Until that day comes, a sudden internal meeting was held on the closed floor of HYBE's headquarters. Internal sources said that several important BTS personnel will be present, including Jin, who has just returned from military service. But what is surprising is the presence of an elegant woman who is none other than Jungkook's own mother. She came dressed in simple clothes, without excessive makeup, but with puffy eyes. Some HYBE staff even admitted that they couldn't look him in the face for long because they felt that something was very wrong, and sure enough. Shortly after the meeting began, Mrs. Jungkook's voice sounded low but full of pressure. "I've been silent for too long." That sentence alone was enough to make everyone stop taking notes, stop staring at the laptop screen, and start lifting their heads. Because they knew whatever he would say next was not something that could be taken lightly. "You know how my son came home last night?" His voice began to tremble. His hand held a small photograph, apparently a photo of Jungkook taken secretly the night before. His face looked blank, his body looked exhausted, and his eyes, obviously exhausted from crying. He's not eating. He's not talking. "Just enter the room and don't leave until morning." You say he's okay. And that's when the crying broke out. The room, which was usually full of formalities and protocol, was suddenly silent. No sound.
No whispers.
Nobody even moved. Everyone was speechless, watching a mother who was devastated because her child was suffering. A mother who once proudly handed her child over to the agency to be looked after and guided must now see the child return to her in a state of near collapse. Then, from the corner of the room, came a single sound, quiet, yet stomping. "Enough. Don't pretend you don't know." That's Taeil's voice. Kim Taeil, the closest friend to Jungkook, who is often seen leaning on his shoulder, joking backstage, and singing heartfelt verses with him, now stands tall, with a face full of anger. "You think we don't know what you're doing behind the scenes? You think we can't feel the pressure you're putting on us?" All eyes are now on him. Even the usually stern CEO of HYBE could only bite his lip. "We are silent not because we agree. We are silent because we try to keep everything intact. But now you're making Jungkook's mother cry. You guys have gone too far." One sentence that makes the room quiet. One sentence that made Jungkook's manager look down deeply. And for some reason, one of the creative directors of HYBE chose to leave the room without a word. Does he feel guilty? Or is he part of the reason behind the suffering? The question now is no longer what happened that night, but how long has this been going on? How much pressure has Jungkook kept himself under in his silence? Are we, as fans, too busy enjoying his works to forget that behind that obstinacy, there is a fragile child? And more than that, whether HYBE really does not know, or do they just choose not to care? Jungkook's mother wasn't the only one who felt this hurt. In a previous interview, Jimin had mentioned that Jungkook is the one who most often hides his pain in order to maintain the happiness of others. Taeil once said softly, "He always smiles first, but sometimes he's the one who wants to be hugged the most." But no one expected that everything would explode in this way, with a mother's tears, with one sharp sentence from Taeil, and with the whole world watching in silence. Will HYBE clarify this situation? Will they recognize the internal pressure that has been going on? Or are they going to be silent again, as has happened too often? More importantly, what will Jungkook do after this? Will this be the turning point? Will he speak for the first time about the wounds he has been hiding? Or is it, will he choose to stay away? One thing is certain. A mother's tears never come for no reason. And when a mother already speaks, no agency, no matter how big, can cover it up with nice words or press statements. It's no longer about popularity. It's about humanity, about the limits of suffering. It's about having the courage to protect those we love, even if it means fighting the place we've always lived in. And we, as viewers, can only hope that Jungkook knows that we see him, hear him, and stay with him, no matter what happens behind the scenes. After Jungkook's mother cried and Taeil stood up bravely, HYBE's boardroom atmosphere was never the same. An invisible boundary has been crossed. It's not just about professionalism or management. It already touches a much more personal, deeper, sharper realm. Feelings. Taeil stood up. His hand held the phone, and without saying much, he placed it on the meeting table. "This is a voicemail from Jungkook last night," he said in a quiet but cold voice. "Listen." And that's where it all starts to unravel. Jungkook's voice sounded hoarse. Breathing is heavy. And in just the first two sentences, the entire room was unable to contain their shock sighs. "Hyung, I want to get out of here. Is that wrong? I don't know what's right, and what's just their game." Jungkook's mother covered her face with her hands. The newly re-entered creative director was seen gritting his teeth. Someone in the back of the room looked out while holding back tears. And while all were busy with their respective reactions, one thing became clear. Jungkook had been keeping this for far too long. And the past few weeks, various sudden decisions from HYBE have overwhelmed BTS members, from impromptu photo shoots, advertising contracts that must be fulfilled without negotiation, to requests to rebuild the image ahead of special projects. But not many know that almost all of it is directed to one person. Jungkook, Jin, who was present quietly at the meeting, finally spoke. His voice was heavy, his face tense. "You guys think that just because he's the youngest, he can endure everything alone. He's our son too, not your dolls." That's when HYBE's defenses began to crumble. The CEO tried to speak up, saying that these decisions are part of the brand sustainability strategy. But before he finished his sentence, Jimin, who had been silent from the beginning, immediately put his bag hard on the table and stood up. "Brand? You're talking about brand in front of his mother, who is crying because her son felt his life was ruined." Jimin clutches his phone, showing a screenshot of Jungkook's message. "I can't sleep, Hyung. They said I should keep smiling. Do I still have a reason to smile?" And instantly, the question resonated. Through the walls of the room, breaking the boundaries of management, penetrate all the grounds. Outside HYBE's office, news began to spread slowly. The staff who witnessed the incident whispered to some media outlets, but with the same message: don't spread faces, don't blame Jungkook, because it's not all his fault. This is a heartrending cry from someone who has given it all, and instead asked to give more, and more, until finally nothing was left for himself. To his surprise, one of HYBE's old producers uploaded a cryptic status via his personal account, which was immediately deleted 5 minutes later. "Someone once told me, I want to sing, not survive." But this industry doesn't care about life as long as the camera is still recording a smile. Army, who saw the screenshot of the upload, reacted immediately. Keywords like #ProtectJungkook, #HYBE explain this, and #Jungkook deserves better instantly trending in less than an hour. Thousands of fans began to thread about how HYBE's behavior has never been completely transparent, including in terms of schedules and mental management of the artists. But what happened next was even more unexpected. That night, as the virtual world boiled over and the fans started screaming for HYBE to take responsibility, Jungkook appeared on Weverse Live with a tired face, a small smile that could not cover his puffy eyes. He simply said, "Thank you for worrying. I'm fine now, but I need time. If I disappear." That night, the Seoul sky looked darker than usual, but not because of clouds or rain. There was something in the air, an unusual uneasiness. In front of the HYBE building, a group of soldiers began to arrive, not carrying light sticks, not to wait for an appearance. They stood still, holding a paper with one word on it. Listen.
No fuss. No screaming.
Only silence and a straight look at the building where a mother's tears fell. Tears that would never have needed to be shed if the world cared more about hearts than numbers. And as the night wore on, a black car stopped. The doors open. Jimin is out. No makeup, no smile, no bodyguards. He was carrying only one thing, a small black bag. And the pace is steady towards the crowd. Some fans stared at him, hoping he would say something, but he just stared at them, then lifted his bag slowly, unzipped it, and pulled something out, a pair of earphones. He puts it on his ear, plays something from his phone, and lets it sound into the microphone of a nearby fan live stream. A voice came back. "Hyung, sometimes I think if I leave, will they realize I'm not just content?" That voice. Yeah, that's Jungkook's voice. Again. But this time it was more ruined, more broken. And everyone there, including Jimin, couldn't hide their tears. Meanwhile, inside the HYBE building, Taeil stands in front of an upstairs window. He witnessed for himself a small, calm crowd, without unrest. But there is something much more deafening than a cry, silence full of wounds. Shortly thereafter, a staff member walked into his room. "We have orders to calm the fans. Can you upload something? Something that reassures them that everything is fine." Taeil nodded slowly. His gaze was piercing. "You want me to lie again?" The staff was silent.
Don't know what to answer.
Because everything that happens now is no longer about promotion or reputation. This has already gone into a much more sensitive realm, trauma. The next morning, the world was shocked by an upload that made the atmosphere even hotter. A former HYBE staffer posted an old documented internal letter from 2 years ago stating that Jungkook will be the main face of internal projects, regardless of his physical or mental health condition, given his above-average engagement performance. The document was signed by one of the senior directors who is still in office. And once dispersed, explosions are inevitable. Fans started digging, comparing Jungkook's schedule over the past 2 years, matching up sick dates, sudden absences, and moments where he looked like he was forcing himself to perform. One of the clips from the concert in Busan went viral again, where Jungkook almost fell after bending over for too long. At that time, the public only considered it ordinary fatigue. But now, after all the confessions came out, all came to light, and even more stifling. All this time they were silent. All quiet. One of those who finally raised their voices was BTS's longtime vocal coach, who is known to be close to the members. In a podcast that lasted only 5 hours before being deleted due to legal pressure, he said that Jungkook, too good. He thinks the responsibility is all on his shoulders. But the truth is, we all know, he just wants other people to be happy. The problem is, this system, it never made room for someone like him to rest. And the public began to wonder, why didn't anyone stop this in the first place? Why is everyone just silent? Why does it take a mother's tears to make the world hear? As the situation grew tense, a video suddenly appeared on Twitter, posted by an anonymous account, featuring CCTV footage from the HYBE lobby room the night the incident occurred. In the video, it is clearly visible. Jungkook's mother stood with trembling hands, her face flushed. In front of him stood 2 high-ranking HYBE, who looked stiff. Behind him, Taeil. Then, he said in a trembling voice, "You might be able to set a schedule, you might be able to set an appearance, but you'll never know what it's like to hear your child say he's afraid to fall asleep for fear of not waking up again." And when one of the higher-ups tried to interrupt,